Hi, everyone. Wow, I am just going to sit here and soak in the moment to actually see your physical faces and to see all of you here. I'm probably not going to take a breath as soon as I get into this presentation, so let's just take a moment and soak that in. And for everyone tuning in virtual, it's so exciting to have you. This is, I think, one of the beautiful wonders about hybrid events. So I hope you can put in the chat where you're tuning in around the world. If you haven't yet, build some community there, and we'll get into the heart of today's conversation. So from fear to fun, empowering your organization to work directly with the community. I'm sure all of you have had moments when you are going to try to reach out to different organizations and they're like, I don't quite know about this community thing. I'm kind of scared. I've never got in front of the customer before. I've never been in the community and had these conversations. So I hope at least anything that you can take away with it today is tactics and new approaches. You might have different business models. This whole idea of a decentralized community approach to building might not be the exact fit for your organization, but hopefully you can take away some really important tactics. So 88% of senior executives have a positive perception of community programs at their organizations. I mean, wow, this is a tremendous shift from even 5 or 10 years ago. Who could say, who could even, I guess, anticipate, this is all what we've all been working for, to have a community now be at the forefront. But with that, we are seeing, the community is a buzzword, but do they know what that means, and how are we making sure ourselves as community professionals are setting them up for success? And so I've seen this shift firsthand when I joined Siemens just about a year ago, and we've taken a decentralized approach to the centers of excellence. So no longer is it limited to pet projects or a community team completely on the side, but we're building community at the heart through the organization's ecosystem. So I want to set the stage about where our journey started and how did we get to where we are on this journey to a center of excellence. It really started what we say as a coalition of the willing. A little over 70 years ago, the community was up and going. We had a forum, we had a platform, and our teams across the organization were on their own little islands. They said, okay, this is my safe spot. I recognize that community can serve me and can serve the members that I need to engage and work with, but they weren't talking to each other. No, we weren't talking to each other, and we said, okay, how can we unite as one and have someone steering this ship? What is our map? What destination are we going to? Why are we doing it? And then how can we get there together? So this was the birth of the decentralized approach to community building and taking a programmatic work group approach to integrating community across the company. So you're saying, okay, Rachel, you've said center of excellence, you've said program-based work group approach. What does this mean? So let me lay the foundations, the structure, the frameworks that we are working within, and how it's different than maybe what we see as a normal community team. You're probably thinking, okay, community team, there is a senior director. They report up to a VP that is perhaps in your digital customer experience. Perhaps you're in support, wherever you're at, and there's a team directly under them. But with this program-based work group approach, you actually start to have program leads, your community team members that would traditionally all be in one organization. They are now spread across the company. We have someone or multiple people in marketing, in support, in customer success, in product, and they are managing their individual programs. And the glue that keeps them together is the program office. This is your accountability, your structure, your shared community roadmaps, while then ensuring community rolls up into the respective organization's goals. And so how you get started, where can we go? When we were working on our own individual islands, everyone had their own definition of community. Everyone had a different understanding of what does community bring to the company. And so if you're taking this approach, you have to have your playbook, your strategy. It is on the rise, right? But pre-pandemic, 58% of communities had a pre-approved strategy, and now that's at 72% in the State of Community Management 2022 report. And that's great. And it seems impossible to do something without a strategy, but this is your guiding North Star. And with that, these are 4 elements that I have seen that are very critical to your program office running and laying the foundation in year 1. And I'll start to dive into more of these throughout the conversation, but you have to be forming your program office. What are your ways of working? These internal teams and these leads, these program managers for community that you have, are spread across the organization. You don't have a hierarchical structure that is keeping you together. And so what are your ways of working? And once you have that, you know what you're working towards, you know why you're doing it, those community programs can spin out from that. They can work autonomously, and they can make sure, with the accountability structures in place, my role as a community strategy, right, to have priorities, make sure what we're working on is aligned to our top goals and to the business outcomes that are important to our executives, but ultimately moving the community experience forward. And with that, you have to have your operating processes, your documentation, building these programs to be operational. And yes, I have accountability and buy-in in its own little bucket, but we know this goes throughout the whole entire process. Getting that executive level sponsorship, there's both grassroots and also top-down approaches that we have, and while they are making the investment in hiring community professionals and rolling them into the program office. And as you have this foundation set up, you can move into year 2 and year 3, where we are now thinking about strategic partnerships. Who's next to be in the program office? As we look at our sustainability division, hiring in a community manager, our academic teams, they are telling us community is a core pillar for them. But to be honest, and they said this to me, they said, we don't really know what that means. We need your help. So we jump in. We think about strategic partnerships to say, OK, what is your strategy? What do you need? How are these things going to run? And then they hire them in, and we fold them into the program office, moving us towards the center of excellence. So I want to touch on some more parts of these elements and really dive in deep. The community playbook. I'm not going to say how to build a community playbook. There's a lot of talks already on that and research and data that you can pull from. But how are you leveraging your community playbook with this model? And then getting into the heart of the program office formation. How are you working together given you're across the organization? And then the fun part, actually making things valuable. So I'll share 2 stories of case examples of how we worked with success and support, as well as our SaaS portfolio and our product development lifecycle, and the success that we're starting to see from taking this approach. And lastly, training for scale. How do you empower the rest of your organization to take an active role? And you're controlling the story, right? You're training, you're defining what everyone's role is going to be in community, and then giving them the tools and resources to do so. So why a playbook? A playbook communicates your vision, your purpose, and your objectives. It is your why. It is what are you doing for your customers to move the community experience forward, and what's in it for the business. Why should they care? And in that playbook, you should be able to go cross-functionally, and when you're in these meetings with your VPs or your execs or directors, they should be able to see how they fit into community. What is their role? And if they don't see it inherently, you're able to communicate to them and tell them why they should care about this and what value it can bring. And this becomes, a case example. I first joined Siemens, and I was talking with the director of our partner channels, and he said, oh, I know what community is. I've been around for over 10 years. Yeah, I know community. And I said, well, let me show you what we've been working on. Let me show you our playbook. And he goes, oh, so it's much more than support. It's not just support anymore. And I'm like, yes. So new and old colleagues alike, you should always be bringing this playbook up into the conversation and not making assumptions. Again, you're controlling your community story and where the team is and where you're going and why you're doing it. Here's an example of our playbook overview. Again, not going to dive into the details. Take screenshots or pictures, and if you want to talk to me after about this, I'm more than happy to. But your purpose statement, why does your community exist? What's in it for the customers? For us, it's connecting, it's collaborating, it's sharing. It's a core part of everything that we do, and any future things we work on in the community, it needs to root back to that purpose and our vision. What's in it for the business? We're guiding a transformation to SaaS. A community is a lever for that. And that that is where the investment is coming from, and this is the heart of community. And so your objectives should be reflective of it, from product adoption to support, whatever your community is serving and the top-level business outcomes that your execs care about, that's where you should be in the objectives. And to be honest, I don't have measures for all 6 of these areas. We're in year 1 of this formation, but it's the story that you're telling. It is what is community capable of doing, and imagine if. And then it goes into your program areas and your key results that measure up into all of the above. So the program office, you have your playbook, you have your North Star, you know where you're going and why. How do we actually start getting shit done? So the program office is very crucial because a vibrant community with a decentralized model requires a number of internal teams to work in concert with each other to deliver that outstanding customer experience and community member experience. And the program office is what is guiding and tracking community efforts across the company. It's without the program office, we would not have structure. We would not have accountability. We would not have transparency, trust, or camaraderie, all of these things. Because the program office is what is pulling those once siloed and isolated teams together and saying, OK, are we delivering on what we said we were going to do? Are we duplicating efforts anywhere? How are we prioritizing what we're capable of and also working with the realistic constraints that we might be facing? And that accountability comes into play. I'll show you how we use quarterly community reviews and our community roadmap to bring accountability and honest transparency into, did we deliver on what we said we were going to do? Why didn't we? How do we have these honest conversations with each other and foster that collaboration of all these internal teams that have to work in concert with one another? And that's building trust and camaraderie. For the first time, they're like, this is a community movement. We're part of something bigger. We're not working on our own islands anymore. We have a whole ship. We have our resources. We have our crew. We have the people that are moving together to move the community forward. So if you're still like, Rachel, I'm not quite with you. I think this sounds a lot like a community team. And yes, it does. But there are also very important differences. And let me show you an org structure here. So we have the cross-functional program leads and stakeholders. And what you can see at the top, those in green are our core program office team. So we have community strategists, myself, leading all of the efforts and the accountability baked in. But you see wecustomer success, our cloud SaaS strategy, our customer experience as core owners. And they're not part-time. They weren't hired in and then said, oh, hey, you need to do community on the side. Their executives and their leadership are investing in community, and they are hired as community program managers. And any of their future programs that they need to work and to deliver on, the investment is coming from those organizations. So no longer is community on the side going to those organizations and saying, this is why you need to care. They already have that buy-in and that investment, and they're on this journey with us. And so you still have your volunteer, community is a side role. That's not what they're hired in to do. So, our support engineers, I'll be touching on how our journey to get them integrated into the community is going. Our agencies, moderation, contracting with Structure 3C, and any future planning, those in gray. What are we thinking about? Who's next to be rolled into the program office, and how are we making those strategic partnerships happen? And so, as you've seen and what I placed the emphasis on, we have to work together. And I think Priya's art of gathering and her conversation yesterday so resonated with me, because we're changing the model. We could say, oh, this is a community team, this is how we work and do. But we're defining this as a team together. We are saying, how are we communicating with one another? Where are we storing information? How are we sharing information with one another? And how do we deliver that out to our stakeholders? So we're leveraging a roadmap, quarter over quarter. What are our objectives? What are our success measures for each program? How are we delivering? And then our quarterly community reviews. That's when stakeholders across the organization, everyone who has a stake in community or wants to know what's happening, they're invited to see the full story of community. Not just support, not just marketing, not just customer success. They're seeing all of it in one. And then our team agreements and roles and responsibilities. So the ways of working are important to build trust, collaboration, and camaraderie. And what you see here, this is extremely small, and by no means do I think that you can see all the details on this slide, but this is a live, living, breathing document. We are using Mural to identify what are our core values, what's important to us as a team, and when we have those needs and what we as a core belief, how are we moving that into our ways of working with one another? And we go back to this. We say, hey, remember when we saw and made this team agreement? Are we delivering on that? Is the way that we're managing our meetings or syncing week to week, does it match up to what we believe in? And we have a way to go back and to shape this together and bring that camaraderie to the program office. Okay, I've emphasized a lot the structures and the foundations, but hopefully you can tell how strongly I believe that is so important. You have to set your teams up for success to be working with one another and know what is happening to actually get into the heart of the fun things in the community building, what we all love to do. So I'm going to go into 2 examples, like I said, for our customer success and support, as well as our SaaS portfolio and our product development lifecycle. Let's jump into customer success and support. You're going to see some emojis here now. We're going to see how we're moving on the needle from fear to fun. It was a tough sell initially. We rolled customer success and support into our program office. They were actually one of the first, before the program office even existed, they were hiring community resources because they saw the importance. And I know that might not be the case for everyone, right? Sometimes you really do have to go in and prove and show the value. But they had that. So we're like, this is a natural fit. Let's get started and think about how can we increase our peer-to-peer engagement in the forums. We have so many discussions that are left unanswered. We are seeing very slow response times. And overall, the health and vibrancy of our communities, we could tell that sentiment was lacking. And so Rick on our team, I want to give credit, to our teams. I'm representing a lot of the work of what the team is doing here. But he said, yes, it was a tough sell. The support engineers that were naturally engaging in community, they're like, yeah, this is great, but I don't have any incentive or recognition from management to participate. And I'm being measured on these other success measures and where my time is being spent. So I want to participate more in the community. I can't. I'm not getting that recognition or that incentive to do so. And at the time, we had a support center. We still do. We have a support center and our community discussion forums, and they were disconnected, but they're like, it's serving the same people. So why, as a support engineer, why would I participate in both if at the end of the day, it's a lot of times, same people coming in and questions. So spoiler, we did work on that integration and feeding our discussions into Support Center and vice versa. So we have a stronger integration between the two. And it helped with our use case of taking a bottoms-up and a top-down approach to getting these support engineers time and getting our executives bought in. As much as I wish that it could all be grassroots campaigns and it can work from the bottom up, we know the realistic nature that it also comes top down. And so Rick was going and doing both of these in concert. And it did take, I would say, at least a full year to finally get this one over and to get the senior director at the end of the day to say, yes, I'll put the time in, let's test this pilot. But it started grassroots. And there was still initially a little movement, little tension about wanting to commit. And they started to prove the benefits early with early adopters, those that actively saw the value of community, and they're like, okay, I will put my extra time into this and help you prove the success so more people can get in. So then that came with top-down. They used some of those early adopters and proving the benefits to say, one person is making this impact. Imagine if we had 50. Imagine if we had 100. And it built a support steering committee. And using this proof of concept, it slowly fizzled out, right? It wasn't quite the right way to win over the leadership. So attempt 2 was, we're going straight to the senior director. We're going to help him understand, and we're going to reposition community as many times as it takes so that they are bought in and they say, okay, we're going to move forward with this pilot, with this test. And so that's what they did. It was a test. It was an experiment. And I think that is so important because it's not a forever time commitment. It is we're going to try it out. We're going to see how this goes. And if it proves valuable, okay, we'll keep doing it. And if it doesn't, then okay, we tried, but we can't continue our time here. So this is just a little of the nature of our support cohort. I won't dive in again to all the details. If you want to follow up with me or get connected with our colleague who is focusing on this program specifically, I'd be more than happy to do so. But there was a time commitment. There was membership. What are they signing up for, and how long are they going to be doing this? And then they had coaching, monthly meetings to be sharing best practices. They would be updated on what were the involvements with the rest of the community programs, how does this impact them, and what are their expected outcomes? How are they going to be measured for success? They very much really care about this. So we look at setting up our analytics, making sure they have the reporting and the tools that they need to measure the things of how they're making an impact through our monthly active engaged users, our increase in best answers. And with that, where we're at now, I was intending for this to be like a half smile, a smize of, okay, we're on this journey with you. We're not like ecstatic. We don't like fully yet believe in it, but it's right where we want them with the growth and maturity of our community. And they have now, for the first time, community represented in the customer success and support KPIs. With what we're able to measure right now, again, this is a journey of being able to get those strong numbers that the execs care about, but our % growth monthly active engaged users and our increase in best answers. And what we're working towards is that SaaS product adoption, those that are more engaged in the community, how are they more likely to adopt and keep continuing their subscriptions? And with that, a reduce of support cost. So we're on the journey. We still have a lot more to deliver with them, but we have them in the right spot, and we're shaping that community story and their role in the community. So let's shift to product development and SaaS. And this one is pretty awesome. I'm not going to lie. I love where we're going. We're very early in this infancy. But we had our SaaS team, whose organization that was very new, and they're like, community is going to be the heart of this. It's going to be how we do this and do the incubation and the innovation of all of our future products. But we don't have that community background. We need help. We don't know what that means. But they came to me with a statement to shift our company culture towards one of customer-centered feedback, to actually deliver on what we say we're doing. Our SaaS portfolio team placed conversations between product and customer new market members at the heart of its new product development lifecycle. It is center to the future of product development. And with that, we said, okay, let's get you there. Let's figure out how we're going to do this. What's our strategy? What's our approach? What do we need in place to actually make this happen? So we went on a very large research and discovery project. You're seeing the outcome of it, but this was really like 4 months, 5 months of work to look at what was already tried and happened, what is currently existing when it's related to product development, what are our competitors doing, what are our competitors doing, and how do we not be limited by our current community platform tech stack. So when we think about ideas and product innovation, maybe naturally we think of an open ideas that the product team are in on your forums, and they're responding and they're funneling those in. But we said it's more than that. It's beyond that. And so how do we take our audience, our buyers and our users, our executives, our VP directors, what is a community program that makes sense for them? And the Industry Thought Leader Mastermind program was born. And then we said, okay, we're getting down to an individual user level. What about those managers and individual contributors? What are future product communities? What are early access communities looking like? And for the students, how are they ready for this? Innovation readiness training. And then the next gen. What's the future look like, and where are we going, and how are we tailoring our community programs to this? So you're like, okay, we get a lot of recommendations all the time, and usually I would think in a centralized community team model, they would say, okay, this is great. What resources are you providing to this to make this happen? But with a decentralized model, this is their investment in community. And so Amanda was hired in. And Amanda is a brilliant community professional and so equipped with understanding innovation and incubation communities and facilitating. And she is bringing these programs to life. And again, it's starting with pilots. So they're launching and funding 3 pilot programs with a dedicated community program manager that rolls what her work is up into the SAS organization, but also she has a shared responsibility on the community roadmap. How is what she's doing moving the needle on our playbook, on our vision, on our objectives, and our key results that we have set out? And if it doesn't quite fit, we evolve, right? Your playbook is not static. You're continuing on this journey to evolve it. And of course, the financial investment, right? Their SAS team is putting their investment in funding these programs. We don't have to pull from our limited constraints of in a centralized role. Those community team members, they are moving it, and they can work autonomously while also in concert with the guiding community vision. And of course, there are your typical programmatic natures of how these programs are getting spun up. Again, if you're really like, how are you bringing these programs to life, reach out to me, and I'll make sure you get connected with Amanda. But with this, now the SAS team is saying, with community, we anticipate not only de-risking the innovation process, but we're going to see an increase in product issue identification before launch, new ideas and use cases coming to the table that subscribe to paying for the solution and doing that over time, and that's getting us to the business outcomes that are important. And marketing case studies and testimonials, valuable partnerships, overall customer loyalty. And this is, a seismic shift in how product teams have traditionally worked in the community and any new future products that we're going to bring to the table. And so I think this is a tangible impact here, this quote from our product manager, that at the end of the day, the product is better for it. By participating in the first pilot of our innovation and incubation programs, we sat in the same virtual room week after week with these core community members that were a part of the pilot and getting so much feedback and tested our assumptions. And at the end of the day, the product is better for it. So imagine as we do that and we integrate it and community becomes a core part of the product development lifecycle, how much more we can do with that and show those tangible business outcomes that matter to our executives. So I want to end with scaling involvement via e-learning training. In my past experience, training has almost been an afterthought. It's like we know we need to be on a roadshow. We know we have all these processes. We have this documentation. But how do we get that out to the rest of the company so that they know their role in community and that they have the tools and resources to do so? So at the heart, in year 1, and as we move into year 2 of this model, we're placing the emphasis on training. And we're doing so because we want to, again, control the community story, control our, not control, I guess control is the wrong word here, but we want to set them up so that they're not making their own assumptions of it, and they're part of the bigger community momentum and movement that we're making. And so to provide a clear and globally consistent framework for internal employees interacting with the community to drive all customer relationships and activities as part of the customer experience. So let me show you just kind of how we're structuring this. Again, I wish I could dive into the details to all of this. So if training is important to you, connect with me after. I would love to dive into it. But in year 1 and 2, we're focusing on setting our support engineers, anyone in support up for success, product marketing, and customer success. And this is because we have programs running in these areas. We feel that they're at an operationalized point where we can scale and we can finally get more employees a part of the activities in the community. And with that, we're differentiating the training as well. So we're saying, okay, everyone probably gets the same orientation video to community. What's its vision? What's its purpose? Why are we doing this thing? Why should I care about it? But then when they start to prepare to engage in the community, it is specific to support. It's specific to product marketers. It's specific to customer success. We say, this is how we want you to prepare, and this is how you can participate, and this is why it's important to your organization. This is why there's sponsorship. This is why we have resources to it, and here's how we can set you up for success. And those that want to take a leading role to make those strategic decisions, to make a huge culture shift in how their organization is running, and they see the opportunity to do so with community, how can they get integrated into our program office? And so in years 3 and 4, we're going to be looking at those future strategic partnerships. My role as a community strategist is to be seeing us where we're at now, but where are we going? In academic, our pre-sales and sales. I know you might be surprised to see that up here. That might be an organization we shy away from. But they I was in a workshop. I was leading the future of SaaS buying, and they had community in their conversations. They said, this is how we're going to meet our very small businesses and our small and medium-sized businesses. And so they're ready for it. They want to start the conversation. So how can we support them on that journey? And, you know, our partner channels, what is their role in community, and what are they doing? So again, early infancy here. I'm just showing you the model that we're using and how we're starting to bring it to life. So would love to follow up next year, maybe at CMX, and say, how are we doing on the delivery of this training? OK, so final slide here before I kind of wrap it up. I'm sure you're like, Rachel, I feel like there's some caveats. And I want to maybe not fully debunk them, but I want to open the conversation with things we've heard. And also, if you have more caveats that I haven't listed up here, come with me and talk with me after, because I want to make this model even stronger. I want to make sure we're preparing for maybe some of the constraints that might come up or the conflicts that might arise. But first and foremost, resources can be taken at any moment. I feel like that's something I've heard my whole time in community management, that they could just be taken away. They're volunteer. This is a side role for them. But no, with a decentralized model, remember, the organizations are making the investment in community. They are hiring community professionals. You don't report to the same director or VP. Well, yes, conflicting goals and priorities might arise, but that's where your ways of working, your team agreements come in handy. You should be set up to have those authentic and honest conversations and have good relations with your stakeholders and with your team to make sure you're mitigating that. And lastly, every team has their own KPIs and key results. Yes, and that's OK. As community professionals, don't we want community to be in each center parts of the organization, have community at the top of those organizational goals? So you have to work in concert with each other. You have to have the structure in place. But at the end of the day, that's how we get to these centers of excellences and make those seismic shifts in the culture of your companies. And so with that, from fear to fun, how are we doing? I'd say we're teetering onto the fun side. I mean, we're year one in this, but the fact that we have a playbook, we have structure and accountability into their success measures, we're seeing community an active part of the conversation, and we're beginning to deliver training to scale involvement. So there is so much more room for growth here, but I think we have the heart of a foundation really secure to set our company up for success. So with that, thank you, and hope to hear more from you. Thank you.